Good evening. Today is February the 20th. It is now 7:30. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Would you please stand for the opening prayer and then the Pledge of Allegiance?
Lord, we're meeting here tonight to conduct matters of business. Guide our hearts and our minds in the spirit of fairness, right thought, and speech. Impart your supreme wisdom upon our activities so that our affairs may reach a successful conclusion. Thank you for being the source of our guidance tonight. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. John, that camera, the minute you came in that door, it turned and went right over there to you.
Right.
It did.
They wanted proof that you're really here.
I never noticed that, how it turns. Get my papers. Roll call, please.
Lorraine is absent. Shoemaker? Present. Mathis?
Here.
Kruger is present. Kessler? Absent. Gopal?
Here.
Tucker?
Present.
You have 5 members present.
Okay. To the people in the audience, this is being televised. You see the cameras up here in the corner. You're very welcome to come up, stand at the podium, give your name, but you don't have to give your address. But if we might say to you, you might have to speak a little louder because sometimes it doesn't carry to the people in the back row. Yes?
There's some right here by the door, sir.
And then this is televised on Charter Communications, and it is televised on 191, and it'll start, I believe it's Thursday for the next 2 weeks. Usually it's 8, noon, 4, unless there's some other activities from the school children. So you'll be able to see yourself or hear the meeting at least 4 times before, or even possibly more. Approval of tonight's agenda. Are there any requests to amend tonight's agenda? A motion is in order to approve the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Support.
Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The agenda is approved. Presentation. This is the LoC Senior presentation, the funding issues. In the audience, we have representatives from the LoC Senior Centers, and they're here to discuss some of the issues. And all you board members got a packet, and then you also received another one, a letter talking about it. But to me, it's going to be interesting to hear because this was very informative, but I'd rather hear it from all of you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open it up for public comment, and you're welcome to come up and stand at the podium. Just give your name and tell us your views on it or anything you want to do as far as Southern Lakes and LoC Senior. Yes.
Thank you, Bonnie and gentlemen. I am Ken Wenzel. I'm the president of the LoC Board of Directors. And on behalf of myself and the LoC Senior Center, I thank you for the opportunity to speak before you this evening. I come with a signed LoC Board resolution stating we will speak to those municipalities who make up the Southern Lakes Metropolitan Millage. Our purpose is to ask for support from you and the community to continue to do excellent programming and provide events through the annual giving of 19% funding through the Southern Lakes Metropolitan Millage. I represent the staff, an excellent, dedicated staff, the board, made up of individuals that simply want to do whatever they can to better the world for our senior citizens. And the 5,710 seniors who make up the Losi family. Our concern is action taken by the Southern Lakes Board to remove or reduce the 19% Losi receives from the annual collection of recreation taxes. For the past 17 years, Losi has received this money and has been very transparent and diligent in its use. This is the fourth attempt on the part of Southern Lakes to remove or reduce this dedicated funding from Losi since its passage. We are obviously unhappy with the decision, and we protest this action on the following grounds. The information that was provided the public to define the millage proposal was clear to all. The Losi Senior Center would receive 19% of the collected millage dollars from the communities Fenton Township, Fenton City, and Linden City that approved the 4/10 mill to create recreational programming. The millage that passed in the three communities is perpetual. The communities who supported it understood that it would be a guaranteed funding source for recreation and for Losi for its senior activities. Citizens of all ages embraced this opportunity to strengthen both the Tri-County Rec and the Losi Senior Center for years to come. The passing of this millage came largely from the support of the senior population. It was the leadership of Alberta Martin and Andrew Schmidt who went out to the community to define and explain the purpose of the 4/10 of a mill towards the funding of recreation and senior activities. Alberta and Andy were largely responsible for the huge turnout of seniors in the three communities who voted to support the millage. Alberta Martin, who is here with us tonight, was the first chairwoman of the Southern Lakes Board. She clearly understood that the action of the Southern Lakes Board through a resolution passed unanimously in 2001 intended that the Losi Senior Center was to receive annually 19% for the life of the 4/10 of a mill passed by the public. And she firmly believes that the original Southern Lakes Board intended for that 19% to come to Losi each and every year. This documentation, the resolution, also appears in the interlocal agreement. 17 years have gone by with Southern Lakes and the Losi Senior Center working diligently to serve the communities and all of their needs. We have great appreciation and gratitude for the $1.3 million that has been provided by the 4/10 of a mill. The 19% has been given to Losi for 17 years and has played a large part in our success. We realize we have a lot to be grateful for. When we lost our building, we were able to fall back on a loving, supportive community. Many people, many businesses joined in to help us rebuild our new building. We had $575,000 of life insurance, of insurance. And then with savings and with considerable money raising efforts, we raised over $1 million in total. That has left us with a mortgage of $20,000. That's all. We're pleased, we're proud, we're grateful that we are in that position. So now, for the fourth time, the Southern Lakes Board is attempting to remove or reduce the 19% funding from the LoSI budget. The LoSI Board of Directors feels strongly that the community was in full support of funding for the LoSI Senior Center when it voted in the positive for the 0.4 mil. After reviewing the information that was provided before and during the election, primarily before the election, they knew what they were voting for, and they voted yes. The LoSI board, the community, and the membership feel that there is a moral contract that was created by that perpetual vote. The voters have spoken. In regards, we do not see the reason or the purpose to remove or reduce the 19% annual funding. We question by what authority that they can go ahead and do this. No election has taken place to alter the results of the first perpetual vote. We hope that as a board that represents the approved 0.4 mil for funding of recreation and senior activities, that you will request your representatives to continue to fund the LoSI Senior Center with the 19% collected dollars annually. We again thank you for this opportunity to provide you our views of this matter. The potential loss of partial or full funding of the 19% leaves us feeling threatened, as it would negatively impact our ability to run what we honestly feel is the best all-around senior center in the greater Flint area. I ask if you would feel threatened under these circumstances. I'll present two of them to you. Mrs. Pat Lockwood, at an open board meeting in September, brought up the granting process at a board meeting. Wasn't on the agenda, but she brought it up. And so I asked her, could this granting process affect the 19% that we have been receiving for the past 17 years? And her answer was, oh yes, it could. It would be up to the board. At a committee meeting, representatives from Southern Lakes and LoSI, a couple of weeks ago, she indicated, we don't feel that we can afford you anymore. Does that sound like they think that that money is their money only? The community voted for Southern Lakes to have recreation money, indeed. Indeed. And they've done a good job with that. We have nothing but good to say about the high quality recreation program that Vince Paris has led. It also wanted and knew full well that the senior center, the Losi Senior Center, was to receive 19% of the net funds generated by that millage. Needless to say, we do not think that that money was just for Southern Lakes. Patrick J. Callahan of Flushing, our lawyer, explained to us that in his professional opinion, that Southern Lakes is able to reduce the 19% due to a technicality. A technicality. And that technicality is this. Had the original Southern Lakes Board included in their charter that the 19% of net revenue generated by the recreational millage that was perpetual, if that had been included in their charter, we'd be rock solid. However, well-meaning that board was, that was a mistake. An honest mistake, but a mistake. They voted for the resolution after the millage passed. And in Mr. O'Callahan's opinion, a resolution does not carry the legal significance of being in the charter. By the way, it was a unanimous vote of the resolution by that board. And so a crack in the door made it possible for subsequent Southern Lake boards to attempt this the fourth time to reduce our funding without going back to the public to ask them if that's okay. Is that what you wanted, public? No, I don't think so. With that in mind, do you think that it's right to hurt the seniors of this region via a technicality? We don't. We're hanging our hat on the honest, sincere intentions of a community that wanted to help and establish a stronger recreation program, which they have done. Kudos to them. But we have also used that 19% to help us establish a strong senior center. Talk to Lynn Radzalewski, the head of the senior millage program, and see what she thinks of the job that Carl Gabrielson, our staff, our board, what she thinks of the Losi Senior Center. She thinks we are a wonderful senior center, and we are proud of that. With that, I'm grateful for the chance to address you. We are hopeful that there could be some support brought to bear. We are going to go to the other senior center, to the other municipalities. Our hope is to get them to change their mind and to realize that they shouldn't be going against what the population voted for. It's not right. We thank you for hearing us out.
Thank you,
And
Ken.
if you have any questions, I would be glad to attempt to answer them at this time.
Is there any questions from the board members? Yeah, we'll do that. We will wait until everybody talks, and then the board will speak in regards to your conversations. Is there someone else that would like to speak?
Alberta, are you interested in coming up here to speak? Alberta? I would love it if you did.
You know what, we can give her one of those microphones. We can, wait a minute, Alberta. Alberta, we're gonna give you a microphone right here, so you don't have to get up.
I certainly did not come this evening with the thought
Is it on,
in
John?
mind
I don't think
of
so.
addressing anyone. This is not, I have a voice that carries over town. I don't know that I need this. Probably after you know sentence here, you say that's enough.
Scratch.
I am Alberta Martin, and I have been in this area. Well, I'm going into my late 90s.
Middle, late 90s.
Understand what I'm saying? 90s. So I've been on board for quite some time.
Is that less than 100, Alberta?
I have thoroughly enjoyed what I have been able to do. I was a doctor in the beginning, 33 years. I helped with the Lake Fenton school system. I have been a very, very long going on. Not an actor. I don't act. As a matter of fact, I'm a PK. You know what PKs are? They're preacher kids.
Oh.
A lot were little devils, but a lot of us were pretty good people. So I have that to hold on to too. I would like to indicate that, yes, I worked very hard for what we have. I worked very hard for Losi. Losi is one of the wonderful places that I have been a part of. I also work for Southern Lakes. Let us know that I'm the one that hired the gentleman that's sitting to my right. 6 years I worked with this gentleman and worked very hard with him, and for all of you. I also have worked extremely hard for Losi. Losi is a place that I do believe has made wonderful areas of being involved for seniors. Yes, I sold seniors on 19%. Sold them. I've sold them for years. They're not complaining. They're not unhappy. They're still using their money to help in the land of where we are at this juncture. I am the one that signed what needed to be signed, along with the governor, to go ahead and get 19%. There isn't a soul that I know of who's out there complaining because they're giving 19% to Losi. Have you been to Losi? If you haven't, it's shame on you. Get yourselves over there and see what a place we have and what it has done. Done a great deal. I don't see anybody over there complaining. And I signed it. And I'm proud I signed it along with the governor. Come on. How many of you have signed anything with the governor to make money so that people will be able to enjoy what they are enjoying today. You have to live to be in your middle 90s, and then maybe you say to yourself, gee, I have tried very hard. I am not ashamed of one single thing that we have done. I'm very proud of Losi. I'm very, very proud of Southern Lakes. I sat as the chair for 6 years for Southern Lakes. Did any of you do that? But yet tonight you know exactly what has to be done. Thank you for knowing. Just let's know. I signed what I signed in the blessings that came to us. And they have come to us. And I don't see any people out there. I've had calls from a lot of people who are very happy with what they've done. The 19%. I just hope that you folks are understanding what you think you're doing with Southern Lakes. 6 years I sat on that seat and worked very hard. Brought the gentleman to my right on board. Did any of you do it? No. Let's not then take a little bit of a 19% and use that as an excuse to change things. When we are using the 19% for people who are enjoying what they're enjoying in the places where I'm now a very active person. 15 years I've given my life to Losi. How many of you have given your life to Losi? I don't see too many raising hands. I see some that have worked very hard. You asked me to speak? I've spoken. I can go on for hours, but I don't plan to do that. I still am saying to you that what I signed is still there. What the governor signed is also still there. Let's not forget that. What I had to sign for Southern Lakes, I signed with great respect and love Southern Lakes. How many of you chaired it for the years that I've chaired it? Who hired a gentleman like we have here? And he is a gentleman. If you could say all this, then I'll say, well, you've done a little bit for mankind. I don't know where my buddy is. I didn't expect to speak tonight.
We're glad you did.
But I'm proud of what we have done.
Thank you.
And I just think people ought to understand why I am proud. I will continue to be proud. I will be working with Losi for the beyond the middle of the 90s.
Good.
We are grateful for all that she's done for the Losi Center, and I know that Vince is grateful for all she did at Southern Lakes.
All right. Mrs. Betts, did you want to speak? Oh, I thought you had got up. Did you want to speak? No.
Alberta said everything that I would have said, only in a lot better way.
Okay.
I know how good they do at Losi. My mom was a member, I'm a member.
Okay,
It's
Les
important.
Scott. Les, would you like to, Les? Okay, and then Vince after
Is
that.
it possible
Oh.
to follow Mrs. Martin? I'll try. Vince Eibel, I'm sorry. Les, I'll defer to Les and speak for just a
Oh,
minute
okay.
after he's done.
Appreciate the opportunity to speak to you tonight.
Les,
Right up
yeah,
there.
we got to have, speak up louder.
What I'm about to tell you is a true story about a senior resident of Fenton Township. A few years ago, I was a member of the Fenton Township Zoning Board of Appeals, and I know some of the very fine members of the board that are sitting up here. I'm speaking tonight as a member of the Board of Directors of Losey Senior Center. I'm going to give you information tonight of a personal nature as to how Losey has affected my life. Going back 20 years, when I was married to Mary, my wife of many years, who was a beautiful person and a lovely lady, during her last days, I was serving on the Zoning Board of Appeals, and I appreciated the opportunity to do so. But it meant leaving her alone sometimes, which I regretted after I lost her. A few months after I lost Mary, I was given the privilege of being appointed to represent Fenton Township on the Board of Directors at Losey Senior Center. When I started on the board at Losey, I expected some of the same problems the previous township representatives had. There were times when I bit my tongue and had to think of a better and more compassionate way to express my opinion. But after a short time, I found where the heart of that board was. It was centered on developing the best and most serving senior center in Genesee County. While I was representing Fenton Township on the Losey board, I was expected to report to the township regularly what was going on at Losey. At that time, I had a problem standing up in front of a group of people to speak, and I'm afraid I did not keep you as informed as I should have. I accept some of the responsibility for the township dropping support for Losey Center. We managed to get through that storm, thanks to the good people of the staff and the Losey board who knew what to do and how to do it. When I married my second wife, Isabella, we went to Losey regularly. She was a singer and guitar player and sang and played country music. Before long, with me doing what little I knew to do, she started a group of players and singers there. I actually learned how to pick the bass guitar to play with them. After 2 years of having such a wonderful time at Losey, Isabella had a stroke that affected her eyesight. She could no longer read the words of the songs, and that ended those wonderful years. We would still go to Losey for other things until her back gave out and she could no longer leave the house. She had a second stroke last May and passed away on June 2nd. I promised myself that this time I would not sit in the house for months. Losey was my major spot to go and still is. I hope what I have just told you was not boring, but I wanted you to understand why this old duff is so set on seeing Losey Center continue on its path to help the seniors in Genesee County live full lives as long as they can live. Losey is faced with a problem that has been hiding in the shadow for several years, and we need the municipalities, get my tongue twisted there, to stand with us to correct the situation. The problem is the tax dollars that were voted to go to Losey are in danger of being stolen, maybe misappropriated is a better term. The Southern Lakes and Parks Recreation Organization lawyer has found a legal loophole that claims SLRP has the right to all of the taxes levied to support Losey Senior by the voters of Genesee County. When that millage was passed, it was fully understood that 19% was to go to Losey Senior Center. It would not have passed if that were not true. SLRP wants to establish a grant program with no regulations. They can decide on their own whims where the money goes. Well, the lawyers may be legally correct. That is not what the citizens understood when they voted in that millage. We need people and the local governing bodies to stand with us on this, or we will have to reduce our services to our local seniors. Thank you for hearing me out.
Thank you, Les. Mr. Ibel, would you like to come up?
Thank you also for the opportunity. I want to talk about two things, planning and sustainability. Whether you're a member of a board of a nonprofit, a board of a business, board of a governmental agency, I think you're concerned about your planning, whether it be 2 to 3 years out. You probably have some type of master plan. We have a strategic plan within the LOSI Center that makes certain assumptions relative to income and expenses going forward over a 5-year to 10-year period. We have that kind of a strategic plan that made some assumptions. As board members, you'd like to see what you're doing, not only maintaining the fine work that you've been doing, whether it be within the township, the LOSI, or even the Southern Lakes. Sustainability. It's my hope as a board member and a treasurer that what we do today is sustainable into the future. And I do not believe that a new granting process, which makes us apply for a grant every year, not knowing what those numbers will be in future years, is a big problem for the LOSI Center. Thank you for the opportunity.
Is there, you're welcome to come up, ma'am.
My name is Ramona Dees. I'm one of the many volunteers at the LOSI Center. I started volunteering there when the center was only a couple years old. And there was only one employee because all they could afford was to pay one director, one employee.
Here.
The rest of us were all volunteers.
Ken? There, okay.
I remember the struggles. The center almost closing. I don't want that to happen again. I live about a half a block from the senior center. I direct the chorus as a volunteer. We have about 18 members now. And I'd like to put a human face on some of the people who go there. One of my choir members has a husband who has had several strokes, and she is the full-time caregiver. Her only respite for the whole week is to come to their chorus practice for an hour and a half. It's the joy of her whole week. We have one member who walks with a walker from one of the apartment buildings south of Linden's, probably a mile down there, walks up to Linden with a walker every day through the snow, through the ice, whatever, has lunch, socializes, and that's his recreation for the day, and probably for the whole week. One of my friends is a widow, and she spends most of her morning at LOSI. She comes in and she makes the coffee, and then she leaves to drive away and bring a woman who's in a wheelchair so that they can have lunch at the senior center. And then she takes her home. And that's her recreation. That's her joy. Some of our members are living on probably $900 a month. Social Security, that's their entire income. They can't afford to pay fees for anything. We try to make everything as inexpensive as we can. If I had to start charging for the chorus, I would quit directing because I feel so strongly that we need to have free services for these people. We can't do it unless we have the tax money that we've depended on. And so I beg you, please help us.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak? This is the time. All right. Is there any of the board members that would like to ask some questions or make some statements? Go ahead, Sean. Sean Shoemaker sits on the board of Southern Lakes, along with Mr. Krug. Mr. Krug at this time has resigned, and the gentleman will be Rob Ketzler. But both of them have worked extremely hard on this and are very knowledgeable, so we'll see.
I want to start by saying that I 100% agree with the young lady that just spoke. The fact is that most seniors in our area are on a fixed income, and they do need all the help that we can give them, and I am full support of that. And that's not just lip service I'm giving here. Most of my board members have heard me say that. It's very difficult for seniors these days because they can't just go out and increase their income. Is my mic on? Is my mic on?
You probably could talk louder.
Let's see. Anyways,
There you go.
that being said, I do have a few questions here. On the initial ballot, this is a rhetorical question, but I do not believe that it was stated that the 19% or any of that money would go to LoSI on the initial ballot proposal. Am I correct?
You're correct. It was a mistake. It should have been there.
And just to play devil's advocate here, because I do hear people from the other side of the aisle, people who have young children who are trying to put them into programs and the costs keep going up, would have stated that they'd have known that the 19% was going, they wouldn't have voted. So we have a standoff as far as that goes. How much money do we get from the how much money do you get from the county?
We got 170,000 this year, senior millage.
Okay.
And if I could just
Yeah, go ahead.
finish a thought
I'm
on
sorry.
this, so that you have the complete picture. In a year, we're going to be cut there as well, because they had a rainy day fund that they kept dropping into to maintain the level of giving to the senior centers. And that rainy day fund is as low as they can justify going. And so in another year, we are going to be losing money. We haven't been notified exactly what it's going to be, but it's going to be a substantial sum.
What year was that millage passed?
About 1999.
So, all right.
No, you're referring to the senior millage?
The senior millage, the county senior millage.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Senior millage was 10 years ago. I was going to say 12 or 13.
Okay. Now, as far as, I'm trying to understand what the problem is. There's a problem with the grant process.
Okay.
Because no one, as far as I'm concerned, and Mr. Krug, I don't want to speak for you, Bob, but there was no mention of taking away any money. We want accountability. These are taxpayer dollars. And as a board at Southern Lakes, we have discussed this, that we feel this would give us a greater accountability of those dollars if we could see in advance where you plan on spending those dollars. Is there a problem with accountability?
There's a problem when you have a board member for Southern Lakes saying, we don't think we can afford you any longer.
A question, is she a board member also on LoSI?
Yes, she is.
Okay.
Yeah, she represents the city of Fenton. Yeah, Pat
Okay.
Lockwood.
So, and you do understand that Fenton Township is only basically 1/3 of the Southern Lakes Board, right?
I do.
Okay.
I do.
So,
If I could mention our concern about the granting process,
please.
we feel that that is their avenue to get us off the 19%. Because as soon as we agree to the granting process, they are off of, we have taken ourselves off of the 19%. We are sticking to the moral contract that the vote put in place, a perpetual vote. There has not been anything to change that. And so we feel strongly that we are going to fight for that 19%.
What, obviously, your attorney has agreed that Southern Lakes has the right to act on that with a year's notice.
He did.
I'm sorry. Let me move it up a little higher. I was asking him the question pertaining to Losey's attorney agreeing with Southern Lakes attorney that they have the right with a year's notice to opt out of that 19%, correct?
He has said that. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
As far as I know and I'm concerned, no one has discussed taking that money away from Losey. Now, I think Pat was very honest and truthful with the fact, could it with future boards be taken away at that point? I guess anything could, and it still could be with a future board, even with the letter there. Even if the letter's still there, they could give you a year's notice and be done 4 years from now. The grant process we voted in was simply to help us to understand where the dollars are going to go.
If I could respond to that, the fact that we have had somebody from the Southern Lakes Board sitting on our board so that they knew everything that we were planning, dreaming for. We also have Pat Lockwood sitting on our board from the city of Fenton. So you have two people on your board that are sitting on our board, and we have absolutely no problem with that. We're an open book. We're transparent all the way. In addition to that, Roby Deese, for 7 or 8 years, was the person that from our board went to the Southern Lakes Board to additionally make sure that all of the communication, planning, etc., was in place, was known. It's our position that the idea for a grant was not to get more information. It was to get us off the 19%. By signing that, we have moved ourselves off of the 19%. And we're in no hurry to do that.
Mr. Ibo,
Can you imagine
you just have to talk, Vince, you got to talk louder.
board and having funds come from a federal agency or any other income that you've been depending on, and then they say, well, you have to a grant for this every year for the rest of the time, and you're not here 10 years from now. What's that board going to do? This is not only a money situation, it's a control situation. They also, as part of this, want their logo, their branding on anything that we send out. So it's not only a money issue here. It's partly a control issue. So I want to make that point. The other thing about our budget, with the money we received from the senior millage, the county senior millage, and the 19%, we have over a $100,000 shortfall that we make up through our members, donations, businesses that help us. So it isn't that the money that we're receiving is our total budget. Our budget's about $100,000 more than our expected revenue. So I want to make that point.
Yes, ma'am.
My name is Joetta Miles Zaleski. My question to you, Sean, is every organization in every karate class, are they gonna have to ask for grants?
If Southern Lakes is giving out checks, yes.
So, okay, well, and one more point, I really do feel that the seniors are worth 19% of this money? Have they always been given it?
Yes. 17 straight years.
And so my point is, we are a certain portion of this population, and I think we're about 19%, at least, maybe?
It's growing, the percentage is growing as we're getting
So,
older.
I don't know why you would want to change that.
I didn't say
No,
we
he
were
didn't.
changing.
Oh, no, I'm not.
I didn't say any, see, I guess that's where I'm almost irritated, and I apologize for that, but I am, because it has never been my intent, or anyone I think that I've worked with at this township, to take money away from seniors, okay? Now, I will be very frank, I have not seen things from your organization that have pleased me over the years. When I first came on, getting a budget from you guys over to Southern Lakes was like pulling teeth. Okay, so you have to understand, part of this problem is with you guys, okay? I don't want to take any money from a senior. I mean it. There's lots of things that can be done, and there's lots of outreach to be had, but, you know, transparency, when you're handling people's tax dollars, you know what, is something I'm accountable for. And this board is accountable for. Trust me, I'm not always pleased with Southern Lakes. Trust me, 2/3 of what you guys get comes from Fenton Township. 2/3 of what Southern Lakes gets comes from Fenton Township residents. Yet, Fenton Township only gets 2 votes out of the 6. So, to be clear there.
My name is Kyle Gabrielson. I'm the
Carol,
executive.
you want to come and
Certainly.
say that, please?
My name is Kyle Gabrielson. I'm the executive director of the Losi Senior Center, and I take offense to what you just said. You have been given representation on our board through the interlocal agreement, and the agreement states that your representative would bring that information back. Your representative has the right to vote on our budget every year, have input what goes into our, let me finish, sir. You get to have.
I can stop you right there, though,
Yeah,
because Carl,
well-
if you listen to what I said when I started on the board, those representatives started over, I think, 2.5 years ago. I've been on the board for 4 years.
And let me tell you, for the 17 years that I have been the director or president of that organization, this office has received our audit, our budget, through your representative, and the gentleman sitting right there used to get it. And I take exception to your statement because that is not a truth.
How do you take accepted my
Because
statement?
you're
I
saying
said when
something
I
that's
was at
not-
Southern, I said at Southern Lakes.
Gentlemen, hold on. One at a time. We're not going to argue.
And I would like to make a point to his
And
argument.
then one at a time. Go ahead, Carl, then Mr.
The
Shea.
argument is you said you had a tough time like pulling teeth. That is not true. You should have been getting that information because I sent it directly to this office over here. Every year I send a copy of our budget and I send a copy of our audit. And then you will receive that the same as the city of Fenton, and the city of Linden has gotten also that, and so has Southern Lakes. I send that out every year that we receive that. How you didn't get it, I don't know. So I will take exception to you saying that because I have been the president or the director over there for all the 20 years it's been open, and I made sure that stuff got done and it went through the business office. So I'm not sure why you didn't get it, but you didn't have to pull teeth to get it. I will tell you that right now.
Go ahead, Sean.
Number one, I was speaking of Southern Lakes as far as seeing your budget. I had no idea that you sent it here.
It was sent to his office every year. Every year, without fail.
I seem to remember several meetings, and I'm not the brightest bulb, but I can tell you this, that conversations were that we weren't getting the budget on time.
You'd have to speak to this gentleman, that's you.
What did he say?
I'd like to add just a little bit to this in terms of what the membership is doing for itself. I'm sorry, I'm Dick Lang.
You're Dick.
I'm a board member at LOSI. The membership and the community is putting up a tremendous amount of time, effort, money. As Vince mentioned a while ago, the tax money doesn't begin to cover our budget. We added 1,000 new members last year.
I got 5,000.
and they're all bringing resources. We have a tremendous pool of time and talent. But if you dig a $70,000 hole for us right now, when we're growing that fast, it's going to make a tremendous problem. But any organization that can grow 20% in 1 year must be doing something right. So I would request that you not put us in this hole right now. We need your support at this point.
Mr. Krug or Mr. Shoemaker?
Okay. Let me point out something, because I think there's a big misunderstanding. One, Mr. Shoemaker and I have been the two on a lot of 4-2 votes on how things operated on the perspective of LoSI. As I've told most of the people I knew real well, is I have and had no problem with the granting process, because we were told that the granting process is used yearly to get the monies from the county millage. And one of the concerns come up was, are we going to confuse them? So Southern Lakes Park and Rec went to the county and requested that we could plagiarize the same grant process by changing names and stuff. I like the idea because I think it's accountability. I'm not going to pull Mr. Paris in, but it would be astounding if somebody said they'd never heard me or Sean say it, is that I've said if we take money from LoSI, be it whatever percent, I think right now it's 19, about $75,000. I've told Vince I'm going to pitch a fit if that monies that is now in the coffers of Southern Lakes is not identified and utilized for programs for the seniors. I believe that's the position this whole board has taken over the last thing. I was at your meeting 2 weeks ago. I think I said basically the same thing, and I still support that. Following the meeting, and because of the disrespect shown by the other municipalities, not LoSI, to Fenton Township, I said I can have the same fun by slamming my foot in the door. It's the same feeling. And based on that, I resigned because I felt it was appropriate to use the grant process. Not going to change there. But not to take whatever you folks got and use it on anything other than seniors. And I know the one senior quite well. And if that has created a problem, that being the grant process, I'm not on that board anymore, but I'd love to have someone from LoSI come back with a better process. And I only say that, Ken, because based on the votes at Southern Lakes Park and Rec, I don't see some type of grant process not to be included. So, you know, I support you. I think I always have. I sat on the board prior to LoSI and Fenton Township backing out of the interlocal, but I've kept touch. I know a lot of the individuals. And so I will say it, and they can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think there's any problem with Fenton Township supporting you. But as Sean said, when there's 6 and most of the votes go 4-2, you can't do much about it other than utilize any pressure we have to keep that money utilized for senior programs.
Okay. I'd like to back up just a little bit to our committee meetings, a meeting that I had, a very collegial meeting with Ray Colbert as the Southern Lakes chairperson and myself separately. During the course of these meetings, it became very apparent that Ray, Pat spoke clearly that Southern Lakes is in desperate need of more money. They have many requests coming in for legitimate recreational activities. They would love to be able to fund some of those activities. I asked Pat, what is the real reason that this is all about? We didn't need this problem. You brought it to us. We're reacting to something you brought to us. You want us to go on the granting program. She said it was because of transparency.
It was because of
The reason for the granting program was the need for transparency. We can't accept that. Your chairperson, a fine gentleman, we have a great relationship with Ray Colbert. We know that Ray loves Southern Lakes, but we also feel that he loves Losi. Ray has mentioned that there's tremendous pressure on Southern Lakes for additional money. Now, when we factor in the comments that Mrs. Lockwood voluntarily made, one at an open board meeting, one at a committee meeting, the comments that I told you about, we don't know that we can afford you anymore, doesn't exactly build confidence. It's not exactly warm and fuzzy. Doesn't talk about adding more money to our budget, does it? We're not asking for more. We're asking for the 19% that the public voted to come our way based upon prior information before the election that the 19% was coming our way.
I know it is.
Like I said, Ken, I've said what I would do. Don't plan on changing it. I've been in the bottom of votes before, so it doesn't make me cry when I go home. But it's important that you get the idea, was the grant process great? I think it's a good idea. We agree to disagree. But the monies as allocated should be used and proven use for the seniors.
And Bob, we think that we've done a good job with the monies that come our way.
I don't question.
We haven't had anybody complaining about it. And so I don't see the need for for the $75,000 to be spent for you by you on senior activities.
All right, Mr. Winslow?
Yeah.
Or Carl. Carl, can you get me an audit in the budget on new copies so we can look at it? I think that's what I'm hearing. They know there's money out there and that, they just want to see how it's spread out. No problem.
But one thing just to remember, this hasn't been stated clearly, their grant and the Genesee County grant aren't even close to each other.
Okay,
The Genesee County grant has 3 levels of payment if you fulfill those things required by the county to collect that millage, which is at level 3. Nowhere in the grant that they produce does it have any dollar figure how much we're gonna get from them ever. So before they start comparing grant to grant, apples to apples, it's not even close. Have you had a chance to read the grant I sent you?
no, not all of it, no.
If you read it, you're gonna look at it as a power struggle, and that's what you're gonna find out.
Oh, I see it right here.
So I'm gonna send you, as I have every year, the cities, Township, and Southern Lakes buy, which is required by the interlocal agreement. And I mail those personally down to the Linden Post Office.
All right,
Now,
just send it to my attention.
it'll come right to your desk.
Yeah, and I will check it out with the third. Now, what I gotta do, because I have another meeting, but I do see Southern Lakes. Vince, are you the only one in here from Southern Lakes?
Yes.
God bless you.
If I could just stand-
You're welcome to stand up.
Before he speaks.
Yes, Alberta.
On this issue, if I may just let you know how very careful we were. I was chair of the nominating committee to get a new gentleman to be with Losi, because the lady that we had unfortunately died, and we had to get someone new. They wanted to go nation, go across the country, and get someone to be able to be what we needed for Losi. We have a gentleman sitting right in our own lot. And I said, to heck with this business of going country wide to get somebody here. We have someone here. And we have a gentleman here who can do very well. And I think you will have to admit, he has done very well. And we could have been having people sitting there.
Okay, Vince, would you like to speak, please?
Hi, yes, I'm Vince Paris, the Executive Director of Southern Lakes Parks and Recreation. And I just wanted to clarify a few things. Carl was inaccurate. The millage didn't start in 1999. It was voted on in November of 2000, and we did our tax collection for that first year then. Also, Carl had sent out a letter the other day, and I just want to remind everybody here, he had the time wrong in the letter. It's 6 p.m. is our board meeting this Thursday. Ken is invited. It's 6 p.m. in the lower level of the community center. The grant application as well was not specifically designed for Losi. We did it twofold. I did go to Lynn at the county, and I asked to see that grant application. It wasn't made to replicate any tier level of funding. I honed it personally so that our board could see the kind of information that they wanted to see. And it's really the type of information that we provide our board every month. It was also designed for other agencies and organizations in the community that have come to us over the last 17 years asking for money. And we never did have a good grant process available. And so I designed it that way as well. And Lynn had seen it at the county, and she was good with the way that I think Bob said, plagiarized her work. I'm very good at that kind of thing. And then the other thing about the grant application, we brought it to the board, to the Losi executive board, and I asked Losi for more input on that grant to help us write it and so it would look better, because Carl had noted that he had helped the county write their grant, the one that they use now. I didn't get any input back from Losi whatsoever. Okay. So we went with that product, our board approved it, and so it's out there now. So any groups that come forward, like youth football, the lady asked, tackle football, Keepers of the Shiawassee, the Kids Theater Company, we need a process in place that our board can use as a measuring tool to see what people actually want out there. And in the reverse, I fill out 8 different grants for the 2 DDAs in town. I fill out grants for the Mott Foundation, for the Greater Flint Arts Council, for the Michigan Arts and Cultural Affairs Commission. And they all have grant processes. And yes, some of them are 1 year, some of them can be 2 year. But we needed a measuring point. When we had a scholarship program, we had a grant application that was based on kids qualifying for it under free and reduced lunches. We convinced the board, our committee did, that we needed something that we could measure by. And the grant application is a program and operations support grant. It is not written specifically for LOSI, but I killed two birds with one stone. I used a product that they know intimately because Carl said he helped develop it. And that helped me think, okay, I can put this together so it won't be new information, but it'll just be pulling the information that's required by the county. And with the new groups that come in, they've never used the grant before, so they're not going to complain about how the grant is put together. Okay? I've been involved with grant writing for 30 years, showed it to a lot of my peers, and it looked like a good process and a fair process, so it wasn't subjective in nature. So when somebody comes to Southern Lakes, I make an across-the-table unilateral recommendation to our board, and they accept it based on my recommendation. We wanted a product that could be measurable, and that's what the grant process was about.
Okay.
Again, our meeting is 6 o'clock this Thursday. Everyone is welcome to attend, and you are on the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Bonnie, could I
Yes.
talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, and then I'm going to have to go on with the meeting.
Okay.
Go
The
ahead.
grant process, as we see it, is very subjective. Compared to the Genesee County grant, they have objective bullets listed that separate the Tier 3, Tier 2, Tier 1 senior centers. And so we know what we have to do in order to get the top pay given out by the senior program. This does not do that. We could write the best grant possible. And if they had enough money pressure that they needed to use some of our money elsewhere, they could do that. There's nothing to stop them. So why do we want to rush into a grant program when the public said we're supposed to get 19%? Again.
I understand what you're saying. I'm just going to say my feelings for a minute. I know probably 90% of you people. I know your children. I know your grandchildren. And they're all in the township. I think all of you people are working for the right thing for the residents and the children, for the seniors and the children. The one thing that, and I'm a senior too, and the one thing that you have to remember is those little children. Now, I have grandchildren, and so I'm in the schools all the time. There's little children that want to be in programs, and they can't afford it. They want to be in the softball. They want to be in soccer. They want to be, into the different games. Somehow, and I don't know how we're going to be able to do it, but you people got to get together and get this thing straightened around that you have the best program ever. But remember, when they say, Southern Lakes is another part of your family. That's your children. So I've listened to it and I wrote a lot. I think we'll let it go tonight, and I appreciate all of you coming and giving me your opinion. It's hard to sit on every board possible. So then that's when we assign the board members to sit on different committees, and they would come back. But tonight, between all of you and Vince, first time I ever really comprehended the whole thing. And you sit here, and you're both fighting for the same thing. You just got to get your heads together and do it right, and get the kids involved also. Seniors, we're going to be around for a while, but we've got to establish something for those little children to come back up and still have a senior citizen when they get older. So, is there any other board members that would like to say anything? I thank you for coming.
And we thank you.
Certainly educated us.
And we thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Did I do the, yes, I did. Included in the packet are the minutes from the February the 6th regular meeting. Are there any corrections or requested revisions for the meeting minutes? None? The meeting minutes stand approved as presented. Expenditures, are there any questions regarding any of the expenditures that are in front of you?
I did have a couple questions.
You did, okay.
Looks like we spent $54,000 on some kind of mailing machine, stuffing machine, something.
That's gotta be, no.
It's the jaws of life.
That's the jaws of life. Okay.
Unstuffing machine.
Unstuffing machine.
That
All
come
right.
out of the fire fund.
So that's fire fund money and.
Yeah.
First cutter, spreader, yeah,
Okay.
that's fire fund.
I just was a little puzzled why I hadn't heard about that before it showed up on here. I'll restate what I've always said. Don't believe the little blurbs in the one-page summary because they're, particularly this month, this time, are really confusing.
Like, give me another one, John.
Oh, there was, let's see here, where is it?
Well, no, you're right. There's two 54,000s. The one is for the cutter.
Right, the other's
And the
sewer.
other's
yeah,
sewer.
Sewer parts,
Yeah.
that one I understood.
Yep.
Let me I'll tell you some of the other confusing things, but there was it looks like Byram Lake is going to an architecture firm. Is that who they use to do their weed treatment? Is that what that is?
Yes, they do.
They use a different company than most of the lakes.
An
Byram
architecture
is
firm.
aquatic nuisance.
Well, they actually use two different companies.
Oh,
They Progressive Architecture, I think they pay to do all the testing and analysis, and Aquatic Nuisance actually does the treatments. So they use a different company than just Aquatic.
okay, you're right. Is there any other from any of you?
Bear with me a moment. The ArcGIS thing, is that licensing fees, Tom, $6,450?
It's annual support.
Oh, okay. And that's mandatory?
Yeah.
Oh, here's an example, Bonnie. The DPW building utilities really don't cost $4,320.58 in a month.
No.
That's an example of why you can't look at the things.
You're right. Okay.
But there was I think it was the consumer's charges, there was like a $2,000
Street lights.
charge that went back to the
Utilities and.
fire department, I think. Do you know what that's about? Let me see if I
Well,
can.
here it says consumers energy, DPW building utilities, 4,000.
Yeah, that's what I'm
So,
saying, that
yeah,
isn't
that's-
it. But there was
no.
I'm trying to remember if it was consumers that I was looking at. Why am I getting? I've somehow managed to bifurcate my page. Isn't that interesting? Okay, that's a new one. It was one of the utilities. I'm trying to remember if it was, I looked at this Friday and I've slipped since then. AT&T maybe?
I'm not seeing what you're.
Bear with me, I'm tracking it down here.
Wilma? Yeah, use the elevator right there.
Lost her for a minute.
here we go. It is AT&T. It's the second entry. It says GCS SD substation, which is the sheriff's office. I think that's the line before it. Then it says pump station phone. Is that what this is? This is all of the.
Well, the 2305, that's a combination of phone bills for all the pump stations.
Okay, and that's the monthly number for that.
I'll have to double check, that could be
Pretty
2 months
close,
worth, but
yeah.
I can double check it with Debbie.
And we have how many of? 70?
57 pump stations?
57?
Yeah.
It's about $40 a piece.
Really?
Yes.
That adds up, doesn't it? 57, really? Okay.
Do you have any other, John?
Nope, I think
Okay.
I'm done.
I need a motion is in order to approve the expenditures totaling $884,576.04 for payment.
So moved.
Do I have a second? Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
I vote yes. Mathis?
Yes.
Kessler is absent. Shoemaker?
Yes.
Pardon me. Gopel?
Yes.
Tucker?
Yes.
The rate is absent. Motion passes.
Okay. Public hearings, none. Reports, are there any community reports to be made to the board? I'm going to just bring up one thing. The ice on all these lakes are dangerous, extremely dangerous. On Saturday, I get a call from a gentleman to my home, and he said he was out on Cases Island, and he has a hovercraft, but it was broken down, and 2 men was on an all-terrain vehicle, driving kind of crazy, and he said, Bonnie, they're in the lake. And he said, I can't get off the island, I don't have a boat, I can't get off to help them. He said, I called 911. The machine stayed floating for a little while, but they were really threshing the water. I mean, they were really fighting to stay up. So he called 911. 911 said, what's your street? He said, sir, I'm on an island. He said, no, I want your street. He said, I can give you my street, but you'll never find me. He said, there's 2 men in the water. So anyway, he talked to the man. I don't think the dispatcher understood what he was talking about, because then he was going south, west, whatever, but not doing landings. What we're going to have to do, and I'm going to try to do it tomorrow, is get with 911 and also ask the residents, when you call in an accident, anything pertaining to the lake or the island, give them sites, Lakeshore, Log Cabin Point, Margaret Drive, whatever, because this dispatcher didn't know what the man was talking about. Called me back, I called 911, and we got it straightened. The gentleman then called back and he said, they're here. He said, the fireman, I wish Vince Lorraine was here, the fireman was crawling out on the ice. 2 men were in the hole. And he said, oh no, and the cart or whatever you call it went right under. And that fireman, and we have the divers, you know, the skin divers and that, but he was able to grab the one, pull him up, and then the other one, and they got him. But I mean, it happened so fast, and because he has a hovercraft and it was broken, he said, if it wasn't broken, I would have got out there, but I was there fixing it out in the park. And they just got to stop getting on this ice. It's crazy. It's just where they went through. Now it sounds silly, but it was 1.5 inches ice only. It was the narrows, where the narrows became very thin. So, and there was people all around. They didn't see him at all. Didn't see him. Okay. That was my report. Communications, capital improvement bond sales update. Tom, would you like to review it, please, for us?
Yes, I think I included in the packet a bid tabulation or bid listing from the sale of our capital improvement bonds.
Yep.
The low bid from Chase Bank was 2.33%, which was a little bit better than the pre-sale estimate of 2.5. The closing for the bond sale will occur on March 2nd.
On March 2nd? Is there any questions to Tom?
How did they differentiate between the low 2? I mean, I see the bottom line number variation, but it looks to me like they're they were actually quite different. One was a uniform yield, the other was front-loaded.
Right. Depending on how they bid, sometimes you'll get a straight line bid like Chase. Others will have a lower yield on the front end and a higher on the back end. So they have to take the average, the total interest cost, I think. The true interest cost calculation is what determines the lowest bid. But they were pretty close.
Did the cash flow change at all to reflect the, for instance, the second proposal? Would the cash flow have been lower for that one at the beginning and then increasing through the end?
Well, because you're paying periodic interest on all of them, so if the average interest rate is the same, then your cash flows really won't be impacted that much. You're paying periodic interest on all of them. You'll actually, I don't think it wouldn't make a significant difference on a bond sale of this size, but the overall interest,
okay.
The early ones would be, the lower ones would be paid off first.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's all aggregated anyway. Okay.
Right. But you're paying interest on all of them every 6 months.
And the column says amount, is that the payment amount? Is that what that represents?
That's the maturity amount. So if you add up those, that's the 1.7.
Okay.
So that's how much matures each year.
I see. Got it. Thanks.
Okay, any other questions? All right, we're going to have a public meeting, an open house, in regards to Thompson Road, the reconstruction and the widening of 3 lanes. That public hearing is going to be on March the 8th from 6 to 7:30 down here in the township, this floor down here. The work will start in May of 2017. They hope to have it completed on August 31st of 2017. Now we're going to have a real problem because the road will be open through traffic in one direction only, which is eastbound, meaning from the expressway, you're going to come back towards Fenton Road. Westbound traffic entering Thompson from Torrey Road will be detoured. I don't know how that's going to work, but it will have to work all those months. Reconstruction of the heavier travel corridor is expected to cost $1,400,000. The state is going to be funding some, Fenton Township and Genesee County Road Commission. So if you have any questions, please try to come to this meeting because this is going to help build our Thompson Road corridor once we get this. And those 3 lanes is a left-hand turn lane in the middle. Because if you go down Thompson Road, you want to, let's say, go to McDonald's, you need a left-hand turn, center lane to turn in. So we just have to work with the construction company and we'll get through it. All right, the next subject is Mr. Ridgway White, and he has a proposal, a rezoning of an R17-001. It's parcel 0623-53026. It's vacant land on Grove Park, excuse me, R3 to Ag with conditions. This is the first reading of the proposed zoning ordinance amendment to rezone vacant land on Grove Park from R3 to Ag with conditions. Mr. Tucker, you sit on that planning commission. You want to give me some information on this?
Certainly, Bonnie. Thank you. As the board knows, we've had a number of applications over the last couple of years that relate to downzoning properties to ag, the urban agriculture issues that come along with it. We've had chickens and goats, and we've had rescue places. We've had a number of issues. When Mr. White originally made the application, it did include some of that kind of usage as a potential use for the property. As it turns out, at the meeting, we had a number of residents, and I honestly, most of the residents were in favor of this because what it would do for them is eliminate the possibility of several hundred homes behind their home. So the notion of ag itself, it was appealing to them, and a lot of them were in favor. I won't say all of them. But Mr. White actually made the process very easy for us because at the meeting, what it started out as ag request with unrestricted ag was changed and modified so that it's a conditional zoning request. And the condition, as you can see in the proposed amendment, is simply for an orchard and specifically says no animals. So once the animals were removed from the equation, it received unanimous support, recommendation of support from the Planning Commission. And it is hard to envision a much better neighbor than an orchard of some variety behind you. That's, I mean, I'm sure we actually had somebody ask about bees. I thought that was a interesting and fair question, yeah. And,
With the apples.
wouldn't have occurred to me at that time. You know, cemeteries, they're usually pretty good neighbors. I gotta believe an orchard's right up there on the list, so. Yeah, I guess that's really, there's no reason to beat the horse that isn't there to death.
Mr. Ridgway, I got a couple questions. There's an area on the map that shows the area that's penciled in red. It's this map here. All right, I gotta just get my directions one. On the east side of Swanee Beach is a little notch. That means it goes to the lake. And that property, Mr. Janis has assumed he owns that little piece, but from what I understand, he doesn't. But you would never be using that for keyholing going to Lake Fenton.
So I do own that piece of property.
Yes.
That's not part of the request to convert from residential to agricultural. That piece of property I do believe is beneficial long-term for water flow to and from the property in case you need it for irrigation. I don't have any plan to keyhole because I don't know. We don't need more boats on the lake.
Yeah. Well, what I'm just going to ask the attorney, Jack, because it's a road dividing them. Now we have this. This is still a little piece of land.
It's a separate parcel number.
Yeah. There's a weir.
Correct.
A weir from the farmer. That's there. He individually though could just put a dock for his own purpose, right?
That's correct.
Sure.
Yeah, okay. I just wanted to make sure people understand that. So, now, has Mr. Janis got in touch with you?
My attorneys are working on that.
Okay, okay. Because if you drive, gentlemen, if you drive down Swanee Beach Road, you know the yellow house? Mr. Janis built the yellow barn, the garage. He built it on Mr. Ridgway White's property, some of it.
Well, that's their problem, not
No,
the
no.
township.
Oh, no, I know that. I'm just
I mean,
saying that.
We
Just,
get enough trouble on our own.
no, no. Anyway, I wanted to bring that up. All right. Is there any discussion?
Just so I'm clear though, Mr. White, you're saying the piece that has frontage is not part of the rezone? It's a
Correct.
separate parcel, not part of the app, so the picture we have is just.
Yeah, so the picture is meant to be descriptive. If you look at the letter
Yeah.
dated February 10th, 2017, which is the revised letter that the zoning board asked me to submit, the attachment in that, it outlines the parcels. There's
Right.
4 or 5 parcels on the map. The primary one that's 93 acres is the center, I can't read
The
it, the
026 parcel.
0623, yeah.
Yeah, I just, I didn't even realize that Tovani asked the question, because I thought we had actually talked about that. We have an aerial that actually shows that small piece. I mean, to me, it looks like it's trying to include it, but as long as it is not included, I can get to this parcel that ends 010. 531010, that's the parcel we're talking about. I
Yeah,
think.
010, yep,
And that is not included in the rezone.
correct.
Okay,
And neither is the 012 parcel.
okay, got it.
As we all are concerned about the use and who uses the lakes within the township, I worry about keyholing. We're fighting battles on easements, parks, and otherwise. As we speak, is there any way we can see, talk to you, Mr. Tucker, if the applicant would make that little wedge a conservation easement? That way it ensures that we cannot keyhole from that little spot and guarantees that no one can restrict or control the water coming in and out of the orchard.
Well, you can always ask them for it, that's for sure. I haven't looked at the language I drafted for anti-keyholing in a while, but my impression, without looking at it, is that you couldn't do that anyway. We have 100-foot limitations, we have calculations that are based on frontage. You're not gonna get 90-some acres keyhole there, or I have failed miserably in my
I'm
endeavor
looking
to.
at the point when none of us that are here tonight.
Yeah. It's in the ordinance, that's what I'm telling you.
Yeah, I understand what you're talking.
Okay.
But
Yeah, well,
it's just a thought.
yeah.
It would alleviate some of the concerns. A couple of residents talked to me.
Sure.
If that's a possibility,
No, if I can, I don't think so, because that parcel with the separate parcel number is not before you.
Yeah.
So, you really can't put conditions on something that you don't have here. You have one parcel and these other two parcels are not part of the request to rezone. You can put conditions on the rezoning as they've been approached to the board by the applicant, you can do that. But you can't tie up other parcels, and conditional zoning is really only available if the applicant presents it.
I was talking to Mr. Tucker.
Well then, okay, ignore me then.
Well, the last point he made is one I've stated before, and this is a conditional rezoning, and we dance the dance every time we get one. The applicant has to propose the conditions, and we either agree or disagree.
That's
So,
why I was talking to you.
if you and I have that discussion, and Mr. White
He just
happened to
happened
hear
to
it,
be here.
you know,
Well,
then I
what-
think you've accomplished what
And Ridgeway will know this, that is just the littlest piece of land you ever saw. And where it hits Swanee Beach Road is a weir. And the weir is regulating the level of Lake Fenton. That's where, so years ago.
It may at one time, I'm not sure it's operational anymore.
Well, they block it, they fill it, Ridgeway. They fill it with cement, dirt, you name it, and want to control the lake when the lake is going down. So, anyway, it's
water
really.
tries to flow out of there?
Water flows to it. From the wetlands, I think of your 93 acres that's across the street from it, so.
And I'm asking the two attorneys, if I remember rightly, along the east side, there is a sewer line and manholes that are on that property that go all the way down to South Long Lake Road. In fact, it's the ones that the
City of Fenton.
individuals that are paying Fenton, but they're hooked up to our sewers, happen to be involved in. So would this, and I guess I'm not stating it real well, would this allow us, if there was sewer issues with that line that goes to South Long Lake Road, would the township be able to go in and repair it? I mean, it shouldn't, it's a
We've got an
comparatively
easement,
new
yeah.
line, but you never know.
Well, if we have a sewer line there, we better have an easement.
That's where I was going.
Yeah.
I didn't see one.
And I don't know, without pulling title work, I wouldn't know, but I would be surprised that that could happen. You know, part of the process when you're laying lines, before you ever even put a shovel on the ground, is to go, and do mistakes happen? Oh yeah, I've seen them happen over the years, it's true. But the only way you'd know for sure is to either pull the easement itself and you know, understand when you do that, that's not gonna answer the question either. You're gonna need a survey because it's written, generally speaking, meets and bounds legal descriptions. So you need a surveyor to plot it, to tell you where it is once you lay your hands on it. But title work usually is probably the easiest and cleanest way to get the answer to the question. I would be surprised, not shocked, but surprised if there wasn't an easement there.
I know we have manholes in there
Yeah.
where
If you
where
look
it's
at the
real wet.
survey that was provided to the zoning commission, it outlines all the easements for
It's on
sewer
there.
and public utilities.
Yeah.
I
All right, is there,
John, just a question.
go ahead.
If we left it R3, he can still plant his trees though, am I correct? Is there anything stopping?
Probably not. Trees wouldn't be, yeah, I think you're.
It was explained to me that you can plant trees, but if you want to sell one apple, then you need to be zoned commercial or agricultural. So it's against. So I wanted to do sort of a hobby farm and maybe sell some apples at the farmers market when these things mature, and I can't do that under the current zoning.
All right, so if you're gonna be having a farm, how long do you think before the trees are developed enough to harvest apples? Just asking.
Long time.
Yeah, that's
It's quite a while, I'm assuming.
it's a few years.
Okay. My next question is, where are you gonna bring a truck in to pick up all these apples, and where would it come in from if you were?
Sure. Well, there's, I did create a new driveway into the property off of Swanee Beach. It's not identified on the land here. I did pull the permit for that driveway. And then there are also access roads off of Grove Park, or access lots to identify.
Now, you're also though planning to build a pole barn into that property. Have you decided yet?
Yeah, I will need to have some equipment and things to service the property.
How many square feet, Ridgeway?
You know, I initially had planned on about 7,000 square feet.
7,000?
Yeah, 7,000, 7,600. And, you know, would determine what I need going forward.
Okay.
20 by 35.
Huh?
20 by 35-ish.
Yeah, and
All
Mr.
right.
Tucker, I will point out that I did, in the letter, that I was asked to revise to the zoning commission, I did spell out that my intent is to create a small-scale orchard, therefore I'm willing to agree to changing the zoning to agriculture on a conditional basis for the primary purpose of an orchard, and we're further willing to limit the commercial farming activities to exclude livestock. And, as you pointed out, you don't want to limit dogs and cats on the property, so I talked with an attorney and they said livestock is the appropriate term.
Is there any other questions?
Yes.
Yes.
Now, you have to use chemicals on apple farmers, it's gonna be completely organic.
Yeah,
I haven't determined that. I'd like to do it as organic, but every person I talk to says that's really, apples are one crop that organic doesn't work very well on. So I'm a naive farmer, so we're gonna do this and learn by doing it the wrong way probably.
Well, my concern is this, being it's so close to the water,
Sure.
and everything flows into that lake, looks like from there, or overflow would go that route. I'm concerned with chemicals, not just be spray, 'cause I'm sure you'd be responsible with those, but heaven forbid, we've all had people, I don't know if you're gonna be the one spraying them or you're gonna hire someone, but something would go wrong and it would go into the lake. Or they would be sitting up in the pole barn, and the pole barn was positioned in the wrong spot, and it ran down the hill and ran into the lake. That's one of my concerns, so before we do this, I would like to know where the barn's gonna be, and because
And you haven't taken the permit out yet, have you?
No.
No, he just wanted to get the zoning taken care
John,
of.
is that something he would have to come to you for as far as where the pole barn, he wouldn't, would he?
No.
No, I don't think he would, as long as he meets setbacks and
And he's
whatnot,
added.
yeah. Right.
And rate the Farm Act.
Fine. I'm just concerned with the, because it's not a farm yet, it's R3.
Right.
So, and this is you can put conditions in there when you ask for this type of rezoning, I'm under that understanding, right?
Some you can, some you can't. If he did plant trees there now and made it into a farm that met the definitions of farm under the state statute, he could basically put up this farm building wherever, however, and he's exempt from a lot of our requirements. But you have to meet, you know, the GAMPs, the generally accepted agricultural principles
yeah.
or whatever.
Practices, yeah.
And so you can't just, you know, it's not like in the old days where they could do anything anytime. They have to meet these state standards for what's acceptable. I'd be, and I'm guessing, and I don't know the answer, but I'd be really, really shocked if the storage of all these chemicals, and you're gonna know what they are, have to meet certain requirements, how you store them, how you use them, what you do with them, to meet those state requirements.
I'm just gonna state this.
You know,
I got a $10,000 bill from my OSHA one time, because I had policies listed on the board how they're supposed to handle chemicals to clean cars. Not supposed to use a screwdriver to open a can, but guess what? The employee still did it. Okay, so I'm just saying that you can have all the rules you want in place, but if you don't do it yourself, things can happen. And I'm just trying to protect the lake and the waterways around there. And that's all.
And
I'm
it
just-
goes
I'm
right
not
to
saying
the
that
lake.
I
You're right.
think it's great what he's trying to do. I just could see something could go wrong, especially if left to people, you know, that you hire to do it sometimes.
if he was only gonna plant trees, he's got 93 acres. He's not gonna have animals in that. Why did
Except
we make,
bees.
or why did we make him do ag? Couldn't
What?
he just take his plant?
Yeah, no.
Well, no, he's requesting it, but would he have had to?
Well, he suggested that he might want to sell some of the apples.
Oh, you might wanna sell them.
So in order to do that,
Got it.
then
Okay.
then you need ag. That's
Got
right,
it,
yeah.
okay.
Now he's going to give most of them to St. John's Apple Fest.
Well, I don't know if I'm
I've
gonna
got that
give,
in
but
writing
Do
and
you know how
recorded.
long
the race
it-
goes by there.
Ridgeway, do you know how long it takes to grow one tree to get 3 apples off of it?
Yeah, I mean, there are different ways of doing it. We haven't made a decision on whether we're gonna go with the split V approach or whether we're gonna go with the traditional tree approach. So if
Okay.
you go with split V, you're about 5 years away from producing an apple. If you go with the traditional tree, you'll still produce an apple, you just don't get as much yield.
Well, you'll
But
do
the
it
reality
yourself.
is I'm gonna try to plant about 50 to 100 trees, which will take up maybe
That'd be
5
beautiful.
acres of the whole thing.
Beautiful. Is there any other public
Sounds like
comment?
pies in the future.
Yeah,
What's that?
Sounds like pies in the future.
Sure.
all right, now Ridgeway, we will not vote on this tonight. The
Understand.
second reading is going to be March 6th, and then that's when we'll vote on it.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Let me just say one thing, Mr. White, your drawing does show the easement I was concerned about, so,
Okay.
thank you.
Welcome.
Multiple patches.
Oh, yeah.
You picked the wrong night to show up, I gotta tell you.
What's that?
You picked the wrong night to show up.
Yeah, all right, unfinished business, none. Now we're into new businesses. Resolution number 2017-3. This one is supporting the DNR Canadian Goose Egg and Nest Destruction Program, and it's Silver and Marrow Lakes. You all have that in your packet. Is there any board discussion in regards to that?
If it wasn't 9:20, there would be.
Well, I'm gonna have some on it. All right, the one thing, can I have one of you come up and I got some questions? Dick, when you came up and talked to us the other day, you talked about Canadian geese nest destruction.
Right, that's what we've been doing since 2010.
Yeah, but then when I got my agenda, now it says destruction, nest destruction, and we never talked about mute swans.
No, we're applying, we want to apply this year for the first time for the same nest and egg destruction for the mute swans. And what prompted us to do that is a couple of things. One is, on Silver Lake, we've got maybe half a dozen. Lake Panema across Silver Lake Road, there's bunches over there. And along with my application for the goose nest and egg destruction, I got a pamphlet or letter from the DNR. And just to go over this shortly here is, excuse me, management of invasive mute swans in Michigan. Mute swans are a non-native species that have negative impacts on our Great Lakes ecosystem. Over the past decade, mute swan populations have increased at an alarming rate, and Michigan's current mute swan population is the largest in North America. Mute swans are beautiful birds, and many people enjoy viewing them. However, mute swans directly compete with native waterfowl for food and other resources, and their feeding behavior destroys vegetation, which provides critical food and cover for a variety of native wildlife species. In addition to natural resource damage, mute swan population growth has facilitated increased conflicts with humans. Reported attacks on humans in boats and onshore continue to occur each year in some areas where mute swans are present. Excuse me. Reducing mute swan nesting success can provide many benefits, including one, reduction of allergy kick in. Sorry. Reduction of the local mute swan population, decreased aggressive behavior during the nesting season, and protection of wetland habitat for native species. And then in their pamphlet, they talk about it's one of the world's most aggressive waterfowl species. So they'll come and they'll flat attack. You're out in your canoe and you happen to go near where they don't want you to be, they're over there attacking. They particularly don't like personal watercraft. They'll go after them. I've seen that myself. I'm trying to think, this was probably September. I looked out my window and there was a group of probably 4 or 5 Canada geese over across the channel from me. And 2 mute swans came along and went over and just decimated. They just floated on in there and just went after them. Which they're Canada geese, so I guess that's not that bad. But.
I was going to say that's kind of good.
So anyway, what we want to do, the Canada geese nest and egg destruction is working. We haven't had an E. coli closing of the Silver Lake Park in about 3 years. There are fewer of the geese around, so it's working. What we want to do with the mute swan situation is to nip it in the bud. Let's start now, and so we don't have the problem going, and obviously the DNR wants them going. Part of this says they've pledged on reducing the number to a certain quantity by 2020.
I personally don't have a problem with the Canadian geese. I do have the problem with the mute swans. I live on a lake, and the swans are all around my dock. There's 3 of them. Every year they come back. A swan will lay up to 6 to maybe 11 eggs.
Right.
1 egg per day for 35 days. All of a sudden you see the mother and father come, and then you see all the little ducklings, or whatever, swanlings or whatever, cygnets come behind the dad. As you see them, you can sit on your dock and all of a sudden, bloop, it's gone, one of the babies. As they pass by, bloop, another one. Turtles are getting the baby swans. So by the time you might get 1 baby out of that pair of swans. And I see it all the time. I mean, and I'm against the mute swan. I got to tell you that for the one reason. It isn't that we're going to get a lot. I mean, the turtles will get the geese too, but the swans stay close to the shoreline. The big turtles are in the big heavy weeds where the the swans are. And I can't vote for the swans. So, oh, yeah.
Say something about the swans? My name is Thomas Urick. I'm the president of the Silver and Marl Lake Association.
Yep.
I have 2 young children, and I know you're an advocate, and I see you at St. John's every Sunday, seating me. But you talked about the children earlier with, the senior center situation, and my kids are 7 and 5, and we've had issues personally with those mute swans attacking us on our personal watercrafts. So much so, my kids are in tears if they see them, then we have to pass them. So they are becoming more and more aggressive.
Very aggressive.
And it's very concerning with kids who are, afraid that they're gonna fall off and be dive bombed because of their aggressive acts. So I appreciate that you like the beauty of them, but again, they are invasive, they're not native, they're not supposed to be there, and they are aggressive, and,
I understand where you're saying, but I know the DNR, we had an issue on the lake. A little girl was riding a jet ski. Father was on a pontoon. One of them was on one of the ones that made the swan come to the other person. Now, not a little girl, teenage girl. And they were killing the swan. And they gave me the excuse is the DNR okays it. They don't want them anymore. Well, that's inhumane. And and I know what you're saying. I've seen the swans go after the geese. In fact, sometimes it'll take a whole day that they attack the geese. Jet skis and everything, but I just can't do it. I mean, I can.
With this is that it's not the Roundup.
It's not the Roundup. It's the eggs.
It's the nest and egg destruction, and the whole reason that works is when the goose busters, or maybe it's swan busters now, who we hire to do it, they come in and make it look like a predator has destroyed the nest. And it prevents them from coming right back and nesting there, and it's working with the geese. The trouble with both of these species is that they're beautiful. If we were talking about rats, there would be no question. Get rid of them, get rid of them now. Because they're the same kind of excrement problem as rats. They carry disease, and they're attacking people, the swans anyway, so.
Yeah, I understand just what you're saying. And for a long time, I didn't go along with the goose destruction.
You didn't like the
I didn't like it.
And
But
so
then
we
I
changed
saw how it worked, and I liked it. But when I know that usually there's only one swan that survives the turtles, then we're not putting a lot of swans on that lake. Lake Fenton's got more than any of them right now.
And if there's only one per pair, how come they're all of a sudden, they're like Lake Panima's got them? We've had 2 for a number of years, now we've got 6. And at some point, those 6
Some
are
turtle
gonna
just
become
didn't get
12.
them, that's all. But no, I'm gonna let the board, vote on it, and then I'll have you call my name last, okay?
I didn't know we could arrange that.
No way in hell you're skating. Jump in, the water's deep.
Go ahead.
In 2012 in Chicago, I'm looking at an article right here, a swan killed a man in a kayak, and what it did, it capsized the boat that he was in. He was a census taker going around nests, surveys and stuff, and the swan basically wouldn't let him get back up in the boat, and he ended up I don't think the swan physically held him under, but anytime he surfaced, and it was a mute swan too. And there's a lot of lakes here. There's a lot of recreational people, and a lot of.
And that was the one of them that got away from the turtles.
A lot of.
Got away from the what?
Turtles.
I'm just seeing, Bonnie, a lot of, I was Marine Division, and, what I've done for a living. I've heard of attacks on jet skis, and I'm seeing a lot more little kids on kayaks.
Yep, I have heard them.
And paddleboards, which there's not even a seat to sit in a paddleboard, you're standing.
Well, swans in general just aren't nice, because even trumpeters, I've been attacked by trumpeters too. I mean, and I have no beef.
Geese are bad too.
I'm no expert at this. The DNR says eradicate them. That's what they say. I'm gonna, until I become more vested in the issue, I'm gonna run with the expert as to whether we should or shouldn't, because that's what they get paid the big bucks for. But if you think that trumpeters are,
they're all
you're
bad.
gonna pet those, I think you got another thing coming to you.
All right, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do the resolution. All right.
Do we look any better from there, Jack? About the same?
Okay. New business, resolution number 2017-03, supporting the DNR Canadian Goose Egg and Nest Destruction Program, Silver and Marrow Lake. You're not doing Lake Fenton?
No, never have.
Oh, then I'm okay with it.
Well, if you could take those that survived the turtles and teach them to eat rats, Silver Lake Amaro would like them all.
Oh, the turtle, okay.
You can have all of them that you want, Bonnie.
You know what fish do in that water.
Same as people.
So we probably should get rid of the fish.
And the people.
Okay.
All right, Clerk Crew, will you please present the resolution?
Whereas the Silver and Marl Lake Area Homeowners Association Incorporated wish to make application to the Michigan Department of Natural Resources to once again participate in the Canada Goose and Nest Destruction Program on and around Silver Lake and Marl Lake in 2017. And whereas such application must be supported by the governing body of the local units of government. And whereas the Fenton Township Board supports the efforts of the Silver and Marl Lake Area Homeowners Association Incorporated to control the population of Canada geese to benefit the health, safety, and welfare of the lake residents. Now therefore be it resolved that the Township Board of the Charter Township of Fenton hereby supports the application of the Silver and Marl Lake Area Homeowners Association to participate in the MDNR Canada Goose and Nest Destruction Program.
All right, do I have and you're making a motion for it?
No.
No, okay.
I'll move the motion.
You want to do a roll call? Well, all right,
I move
motion
it.
to adopt,
We have a motion and a second.
and second it, all right, roll call.
Mathis.
Just do it, yes.
Oh, no.
Right there. You are the first name
All right,
on the
I'm
list.
gonna vote yes, I'm gonna vote yes, it's just the goose one.
We can
Can't,
throw that
yeah, the odds are it won't get the other one. Go ahead,
He did. He
And
said
he
Mathis.
said-
yes.
Kessler's absent, I vote no.
Oh.
Gopel,
Yes.
Tucker,
Yes.
Lorraine is absent, Shoemaker.
Yes.
What do
All
we
right.
need on these with 5 of us here? Do we still need 4 or do we only need 3?
No, you need,
You need 3?
You need 3, 1,
you
2,
got 4.
No, I understand. I just,
3, 4. You-
Some-
because
Majority
sometimes
of
we
those
still have to
present.
have 4. Is that for rezonings or what is that
Yeah,
for?
that's on variances.
But-
Oh, you mean like here?
Here. Sometimes we have to
on
have
the-
4
No, off the top of my head, I think
Okay.
it is on the rezoning.
rezoning stuff.
Just off the top of my head.
All right, resolution number
The shiny part of the hair.
2017-04,
Shiny part.
supporting the DNR Mute Swan Egg and Nest Destruction Program, Silver and Marl Lakes.
Whereas the Silver and Marl Lake Area Homeowners Association Incorporated wishes to make application to Michigan Department of Natural Resources to participate in the Mute Swan Egg and Nest Destruction Program on and around Silver Lake and Marl Lake in 2017. And whereas the application must be supported by the governing body of the local unit of government. Whereas the Fenton Township Board supports the efforts of the Silver and Marl Lake Homeowners Association Incorporated to control the population of mute swans, a non-native species, to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the lake residents and to promote native wildlife species. Now therefore be it resolved that the Township Board of the Charter Township of Fenton hereby supports the application of the Silver and Marl Lake Area Homeowners Association Incorporated to participate in the MDNR Moot Swan Egg and Nest Destruction Program in 2017.
So moved.
Support.
Roll call, please.
Gopel.
Yes.
Tucker.
Yes.
Lorraine is absent. Mathis.
Yes.
I vote no. Shoemaker.
Yes.
Kessler's absent. Resolution passes.
Okay. All right.
Thank you very much. Mr. Broker, just a request, if at all possible, I'm leaving on Thursday for 6 weeks. And I've got all the applications made, I just need those resolutions so I can put them in the mail tomorrow, so they,
I can have them at 8:10 a.m. if you want.
I don't know about that fast, but that'd be great.
They're all drafted. All I have to do is print them, sign them, and
Well,
seal
excellent.
them.
You want me to come pick them up? You gonna email or?
If email's fine, I can do that.
Okay.
I know Lake Fenton needed an original, so I don't know if that's.
Maybe I should come and get them.
I would.
So
Yeah,
George,
I'll do that.
for Lake Fenton, George Dyball said they wanted one with the township seal on it, which I can't really transmit
Right.
easily by email.
Okay. That'd be fine, then I'll come by in the morning. Thank you very much, appreciate it.
Thank you, thank you. Board comment, are there any other comments from the members of the board?
I would much like to.
I would just point out this Silver Lake organization is a separate entity, right?
Yes.
So, I don't understand what the township has to do with that.
Because
I
the
mean,
state says the municipality has to support it. That's state law.
It's part of the application
Entity.
process.
That's part of the application process.
We have to support their application, the board has to support the application for them to get their permit.
To get a permit for.
Shaking eggs.
For killing the
No,
swans
I'm
and
not,
the geese.
no, I'm talking the parks,
Oh, Parks and Rec, Southern
Yeah.
Lakes?
Okay.
Southern
Oh,
Lakes.
Oh, I thought you
I'm
said Silver
I
Lake.
thought
I
you were
did
talking
say
about.
So did I.
Silver
I was
Lake.
gonna
I
say.
did say Silver Lake, but I meant Southern Lakes.
It's past his bedtime.
It's a whole separate entity, right?
Yes.
So once the board here appoints people to that board,
It's theirs.
it's theirs, so
That
why,
we could,
I mean, Jack said it-
technically, all we can do is what Sean and I talked about, now Sean and Rob, is vote in support of the seniors, as we both talked tonight. There's 6 people. Remove me and Sean as no. 4 out of the 6 is the quorum they need, and the other 2 municipalities chose to go the other way.
well, it's not really the municipalities, is it? Isn't it just the individuals?
I took it
No.
as they want the board to pressure. the
All
two to vote.
6,
Right.
Yeah.
That's
all 6 are
inappropriate.
members of the municipalities.
Well, I know, but that doesn't matter. I mean, I guess what I'm saying is it'd be inappropriate for this board to pressure the 2 people on that board.
We're not going to, but.
Well, no, and it'd be
that's how I
way
took it
inappropriate,
all
well,
night.
yeah.
Well, they're playing politics because the legal hand is weak. So, you know, they're in a, from their perspective, it's a difficult position. Because what was voted on isn't what was sold from their perspective.
That's right.
Okay. And what, you know, the attorneys agree, you know, it can be changed. And, you know, the dynamic is such, they tell you there's pressure on Southern Lakes to, you know, for funding for the other programs. So, and this is the 4th attempt. So if they think that this is gonna go away, you know, this problem is here, and I don't think it's gonna change. I don't think, from their perspective, they're gonna be able to fix it without another vote on the millage. And I can't believe that there's such a thing as a perpetual millage. I mean, I would think there has to be some way to undo what you've done, even if it doesn't have a clock on it, but, you know, I don't know.
What are you shaking at, Bob?
No, there isn't.
He's, that's, I mean, that's,
No,
I
and my
talked to
take,
Amanda,
Jack,
trying to
is
get it
that,
out of
you know, like any board
But
Chair, we have here, we put these on the board for a reason.
Yeah.
And there is equal in their power as anybody else on the board, so I'm not gonna dictate what they say.
I have no idea. That's my
but-
problem. I defer to the experts.
But keep in mind that the charter they refer to also shows that the parks in areas that Southern Lakes Park and Rec is to govern includes Losi Senior Center. They forgot to mention that tonight.
Wow.
It could, John, it could be a simple, I have a simple solution. Unfortunately, they do not, LoSI does not want to hear that solution. But it could be, if they really want to guarantee funding forever, it's real simple. Southern Lakes does a fantastic job developing programs.
Yes.
The swim program, just as an example, they took over from Fenton schools. I forget, it was like 12 kids. I think they had like, what was it, 400, Bob, or something like that in the last year.
Yeah.
So the growth
It's
is
immense.
unbelievable. So what they could probably do with something like that would be very simple and guarantee funding forever. Unfortunately, the gentleman who decided to tell me he's shipped the budget out regularly
Yeah.
will probably not want to.
So those that were telling us
You're
it was a
right,
power
David.
struggle, we're not kidding.
Oh, it's good.
It's been a power
I don't
struggle.
want any, like I said, I don't want any money coming from, I think we can't do enough for them, because that lady was 100% right on. I'd sit in that finance office, I'd see seniors come in there trying to buy a car, and they have $800 a month. And you have any other income, you can't afford a car, because you can't afford a car and the insurance, even if your payment was $100. And they're trying to get by, and they're trying to struggle, so we should be doing more to try to help out.
But one of you, Bob, maybe, I think it was you that just said, Southern Lakes Parks and Recreation is able to run LoSI also.
According to the vote of the people.
See, and there you
But
go.
that was just another one of those mistakes
Yeah.
that they made in the
I
charter.
don't see Southern Lakes trying
I'm being
to-
sarcastic
I-
about that, and
But I don't see Southern Lakes trying to.
No.
subterfuge
Oh, no, they got enough work
and
themselves.
as we said, they could, if Southern Lakes wants the money, fine, keep it. But as far as I'm concerned, you spend it on senior lunches and cards. You subsidize other programs or totally pay for programs that go to the seniors. I mean, it's not rocket science. But
Well, you don't want to hear more of this? What's up with that?
Is there not?
Come on, Hannah.
have a good one.
Good evening, everybody. The meeting is adjourned. Now you